Okay, folks, here's a quick review of the Han Solo and Stormtrooper armor figure that was produced by Hasbro as a part of the Star Wars The Black Series line of 6-inch scale action figures. Okay, the articulation joints were unchanged from the previous 6-inch scale Stormtrooper. The head, shoulders, the elbows, and the wrists, they all moved pretty well, but the ankles were very stiff initially, and it took a little time to get them freed up. Now, as far as the posing options, there are plenty of them. The head can move 360 degrees as well as up and down. Shoulders can move in and out somewhat, but they are restricted due to the design of the Stormtrooper armor. The elbows bend, the wrists turn 360 degrees and have a swivel joint. There's additional articulation joints in the hips, the knees, and there also appears to be an ankle pivot joint. The feet also move up and down, and there's also a diaphragm crunch joint. Both hands appear to have exposed trigger fingers, and that's going to allow you to pose the included blaster in either of his hands. And I'll show the blaster to you in a few moments when I review the included accessories. Okay, the paint apps on the figure were done well for the most part. About the only problem that I did see was a little paint slop on both of the lower legs, but nothing else beyond that. The facial sculpt, it doesn't look too bad either. In fact, you know what? I think I like this one just a little bit better than what we saw in the previous 6-inch scale Han Solo figure. And I also noticed that the soles of his feet are also white as opposed to black on the previously released 6-inch scale Stormtrooper. So let me pause here, zoom in, and I'm going to give you a closer look as to what Han Solo and Stormtrooper armor looks like. Okay. All right, this figure did come with 2 accessories, so let me take a break here and I'm going to show you what those look like. Okay, first up we have an E11 blaster. Now this is the same accessory that we've seen with some other 6-inch scale Star Wars figures like the Stormtrooper and the Sand Trooper, as well as the previously released Han Solo figure that we got in, I want to say it was the second wave of these Black Series 6-inch scale figures. But I did notice that this time around we did get one minor change. The slide on the blaster has received a slight update with some silver paint apps. And personally I was glad to see this change, as I feel it looks a little bit more accurate to what we saw in the movies, and the blaster slides neatly into a holster located on Han's left hip. Okay, and here's the other accessory, the Stormtrooper helmet. This goes over Han's head as opposed to physically swapping heads like we've seen on some other figures in the past. However, I did discover that the helmet is a bit of a tight fit, and as it is such a tight fit, I feel it could contribute to facial paint wear with repeated additions and removals. Okay, what I'm going to do now is a quick 360 of Han Solo and Stormtrooper armor for you and let you see what he looks like from all sides. So here he is from the front. Okay, here he is from the left-hand side. Here he is from the rear. Okay, here he is from the right-hand side. Okay, and finally, here we are once again facing forward. So overall, you know what? I have to say this figure isn't too bad. The articulation is a little bit tricky on some levels, notably with the design of the Stormtrooper armor around the shoulder area. And I am a little bit leery of how tight the Stormtrooper helmet fits on Han's head. Now, I do feel that the slightly updated head sculpt was a good addition on this figure, as was the updated look for the E11 blaster. So therefore, you know what? This figure, it gets a good bordering on great recommendation from me, but it has more great than good going for it. This figure will make for good Death Star battle dioramas, especially when Hasbro will inevitably decide to make a 6-inch scale Luke Skywalker and Stormtrooper armor figure. Okay, so on that note, take care and stay tuned for my next review. Have a good one.